Y'all, I had a client who was in a sticky situation where she was considering either evergreening her program, which she didn't really know how to do and she didn't have the time to learn how to do herself, or actually just sunsetting the program altogether. And this is after she'd had at least one successful launch in the past. And so she came to me and I used this line graph that I want to walk you through how it helped her to have her best launch of this course ever and her first six-figure year. So I'm spoiling the results from the get-go. All right, I want to break this down for you and explain exactly how this helped her and how you can use a similar concept in your own launches if you are maybe in a similar situation where you're like back against the wall. Do I even continue to launch this program? Do I sunset the thing? Do I turn it evergreen? Which I'm not really sure how to do. How do I figure this out? So I want to talk you through it today. So here was the situation. She had launched this program a while back, this offer. It was a course. It was around, what was the price point on this? I think it was like $777 the last time she launched it. And she had launched this probably a couple months before, for the first time. And did really well. 50K launch thereabouts. But the problem was she was completely run ragged by the end. She was completely depleted and she had two other launches that she had to do after that. I don't either this course was like the second launch of three that she was doing she was doing back to back, or it was the first of three. So bottom line, she got sick and was sick for 3 whole months. And this launch was in the mix of those three back-to-back launches where she was sick for basically an entire quarter out of the business year, completely run ragged, pushing herself way past her limits to get this launch out. And so she ends this 3 month sicky spree of launches, right? And she decides, I am not doing that again, but it is time to launch again. It's time to launch this course again. And so she was in the position of like, I'm not running myself ragged. I'm not going to be sick for 3 months straight. I just done recovered. Like, we're not pulling that ish. And so she decides to do her version of a lazy launch. Now, maybe you can tell from my face, but that didn't quite work the way that she had planned either. Because what she decided to do was a kind of quick and dirty, like just email only launch, a couple posts on social, literally like two posts on social media basically. And she just announced, hey, I'm opening doors for this again. She sent out a few sales emails and announced when the doors were closed. It's probably 10 or so emails in total. And it didn't go well. She went from solid 50K launch to like 10K. And so she was like, okay, this lazy launch thing is not working for me. I do not know what to do with this course because I can't launch it the way that I launched it the first time. I am not going to do that to myself again. But I also obviously can't do the lazy launch thing because that's not going to get me the revenue that I'm looking for. And it's not even worth sending the emails if that's what's going to happen. So what in the world do I do? Do I just sunset the course, just like put it to bed and be done with it? Or do I try to figure out how to turn this thing evergreen? And at the time, she had already had an evergreen offer in her offer suite. It wasn't directly connected to this course, and it was a low ticket offer. It was like a $127 offer. And the thing about this offer that she had is that she kind of ish built the evergreen funnel and it was kind of working, but she didn't feel like she had done it in any intentional way. And so the funnel that she had, even though it was bringing in substantial money and it was paying her bills, it was doing what she wanted it to do, which that to me, like the funnel was working, y'all. She might not have felt very confident in the build, but the funnel was doing what it was supposed to do. It was bringing money into the business. But she didn't love the way that she built it. And she knew that this course was a completely different beast because it was a course. It was priced way more than the low ticket offer. And so she knew the funnel had to be a lot more intentional. And quite frankly, she didn't have the time to learn exactly how to build an evergreen funnel in the way that she thought it needed to be done in order to create the results that she was looking for. So she was like, okay, I don't want to sunset this course. I don't want to put it to bed and never offer it again. But I can't launch the way that I launched the first time, and the lazy launch does not work. And I don't know how to evergreen this thing properly. So I don't know what to do. So she came to me and she was like, Chelsea, can I hire you to help me evergreen this offer? And this is my bread and butter. This is what I do. So I'm like, yes, of course, I can help you evergreen this. But you had great launch results the first time. Let us make this easy on ourselves and launch again and evergreen the assets from that launch. So whatever landing pages we use, whatever masterclass we use, whatever emails we use, whatever social posts we use, we will use those as our evergreen funnel assets and just take care of the tech after the launch is over to set the funnel evergreen. So it's basically just like reusing launch assets, turning them evergreen. Depending on the offer, depending on the audience, you can get away with that sometimes. And she was like, Chelsea, the last time I launched this thing, I was sick. I made myself sick for 3 months straight. I don't want to launch this again. And I'm like, all right, look. The thing that actually run you ragged, the thing that actually made you sick was a complete misuse and borderline abuse of your energetic capacity. It wasn't the launch itself. It was you didn't have the energy and you just pushed way past your own boundaries and ignored them and just kept going. That's why you were run ragged. That's why you got sick. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to map your energy. And we're going to map it on a line graph. And she was a little confused, as maybe you are, as you are hearing me talk about this. But I was like, no, this is what we're going to do. Stick with me here. This is how I do it for all of my clients. And I want to kind of stick a pin here in the story and let you know kind of the backstory and context of this, because this is one of the ways that I really started to reformat and redesign how I do launching and evergreen funnels in my business to support myself and my clients. So I talked in another video about my whole experience, like working in one of the top ad agencies in our online education space. And I talked about how I left that position and I thought to myself, I am never doing launching this way again. I have to figure out a different way to make this work. This whole line graph situation, this situation that we're talking about today is a part of that whole redesign of the launch system. And what the key linchpin of that system that I recreated for myself and my clients was recognizing energy as a measurable and quantifiable resource. Because we can quantify time in minutes and seconds. We can quantify money in dollars, in pounds, whatever. But energy feels really nebulous to us. We have things like calories, I suppose. But we feel that more when it comes to food than when it comes to like how much energy it takes to execute a task. We like when we think about this biologically, I'm sure there's a measure of like how much ATP a cell produces and therefore how much how much energy a muscle produces, showing my scientific background here. But I don't remember what that measure is. But again, that's at like the cellular nano level. That is not relevant when you think about a daily task being accomplished. And so it doesn't feel real or measurable. And so energy becomes this kind of woo-woo, really nebulous thing that we think about and talk about, or don't talk about, and are kind of like we don't deal in that kind of stuff. And I recognized that when we treat energy in that kind of very casual, very vague, up in the clouds kind of a way, what that ends up meaning is that we completely ignore our energetic capacity and blow past it anytime that we have goals that we need to accomplish, especially for those of us who are type A, recovering perfectionists, overachievers all our lives, overperformers, overworkers, who is most of my people. We at ADHD folks, ADHD adjacent folks, we just tend to end up in the situation where we easily blow past our energetic capacity and we just push and push and push. And we end up sick, exhausted, run ragged, and like giving beyond our all to create results. And when we create the results, we can't even enjoy them, fam. Like, we're sick in bed and we made 7 figures. And like, we can't do nothing with that. We can't go on vacation. All we can do is give to the charities of our choice. We can't have fun with our kids. We can't enjoy time off because we're sick in bed. I had a client, side note, who was nearly hospitalized and ended up in hospital from how sick she got in her launches. And so I developed this sort of way of objectively measuring and quantifying. And it's not super objective, let's be real here, because it's a very subjective experience. You rate your energy, how much energy you have, on a scale of 1 to 10. That's a very subjective thing. But actually just the act of putting numbers to the process really helps you to see the energetic cost, and from there you can make decisions. So this is how I walked my clients who was stuck in that rock and hard place kind of situation. The client who I convinced, hey, just give me one more launch and we can turn this evergreen. This is how I walked her through setting up this entire line graph situation. So first off, we draw a simple line graph here. You can see here we have energy on this side over here and weeks on the bottom axis, right? So we are plotting how much energy you have by week of the launch. And this is from the time you start prepping for the launch through your pre-launch period, all the way through doors open, all the way up to doors close, right? So this is the entire launch prep, doors open situation of your launch is what we're plotting on this line graph. And then you ask the question, okay, how much energy will I actually have, or rather, how much energy will I actually have week by week, based on everything that's happening in my life? If I'm traveling, if family is coming to visit, if the kids have practice on weekends that I have to prep for in the week, or maybe they have practice on weekdays that I have to go pick them up for, if my clients' coaching sessions are really intensive, if I have parents coming to stay, if I'm giving birth, if I'm moving house, all of these, like, I've worked with clients who have launched in all of these situations, by the way. So life doesn't stop for your launch, and the things that are happening in your life require energy from you. And therefore, being conscientious of how much energy you actually have left is important and helps you to establish a baseline. So let's say that this is what my client's energy map looked like. She started off week 1 of launch prep with a ton of energy. Nothing major was going on. Her energy kind of fell a little bit. Maybe she had something going on with her clients that she knew, like maybe she had like a 2-day group VIP day situation, and she knew that was going to take some energy. So fell a little bit, and that was going to take some time to recover from. So the next week was kind of the same thing. And then she had family come, she knew she was having family come stay over, so her energy took a significant dip. But she had planned to take a couple days off so that it increased again. So you get the vibe, right? Like, we're tracking week by week what her energy was gonna look like, and basically how much energy after life things had happened and all of her responsibilities in general outside the launch were fulfilled, how much energy did she actually have left, right? So energy left over for the launch mapped out in blue. And then on that same graph, we start to plot out how much energy was the launch actually going to require on a scale of 1 to 10, right? So we map that in red. So we can start to say, okay, first week of launch prep, not going to take a whole lot of energy. Second week, not going to take a lot of energy. But by the time we got to week 3, maybe we started prepping the masterclass. And so that required a little bit more energy. Week 4, not much energy. Week 5, week 6, not much energy. But then maybe we had doors open for 1 week. And so that's the highest energy of the entire launch, right? And maybe doors were open for 2 weeks. And so that's going to require even more energy from her. So you can start to see where we are going here. Because obviously, this red line is higher in some places than this blue line. And obviously, the blue line is higher in some places than the red line. Remember, the blue line is how much energy we actually have to give to the launch. And that's what you want. You want the blue line to be higher than the red line. Anytime the red line is higher than the blue line, we have a problem. Or anytime the red line is the same as the blue line, we have a problem. So you can see in the last 2 weeks of her launch and in the middle of her launch prep, we're probably going to have an issue. We're probably going to have something that we're going to need to deal with. And some people, for some clients, especially clients who are recovering from burnout, who come to me and who want my support with their launches, with their evergreen funnels, even this gap here in the middle, even this gap right here is too small for some people. For some people, we want more of like a 5 energy point gap than a 2 or a 3 energy point gap. We want that blue line to be way, way, way higher than the red line. And so I was able to map this all out, to chart this for her and show her, hey, in some places, you're in a good position. The amount of energy that you'll actually have to give to this launch is higher than the launch itself will require from you. That's what you want. But in other places, we a mess, boo. In the last 2 weeks of your launch and in the middle of your launch prep, we're going to have a problem. So here's what we're going to do. And we talked through different strategies of how to manage her energy through this launch. How to intentionally either refill her energy or have me do some things, integrate some done for you elements. So those are off of her plate. I take them on and she is able to preserve her energy for the things that she absolutely needs to do in this launch. With that whole energetic restructuring, what were her results like? Well, like I told you at the beginning of this, she had the best launch of this offer, of this course that she had ever had. Now, granted, this was the 3rd launch of the course. But that being said, why this was really phenomenal was that it's also her best launch of any program ever that she's ever had. Because this was just under 100K. It was, I think, at like 97 or something like that. And that contributed to her first 6-figure year in her business. As I said at the start of this video, she had gotten close before, but hadn't actually hit that number. As a consequence of this launch, she hit that number. She was way over 6 figures when the year ended, right? So that was the second amazing thing. But the really kind of clincher, in my opinion, the really great thing here was that not only did she get the revenue that she was looking for, but she did it without running herself ragged. So by the time we were like halfway through launch prep, when she would have typically been starting to like kind of crash because she didn't have the energy, not so, fam. Sis was like taking double naps a day just because she could. She would go to the gym in the morning at like 6 or 7, come home, take a nap. At 11, just decide to go to a Pilates class just because she could. Then take a walk to get a sweet treat. And then come home and take another nap. And she almost felt guilty, y'all. She was like, wait, I'm working. What am I doing here? I'm not launching. This doesn't feel like I am launching. I almost feel guilty and I don't know what to do with myself because I have so much time and so much energy on my hands. And the really, really fun part about all of this is not only was her life so much more spacious, not only did she feel like she got her energy back, she got her time back, she got her life back from the launch, and not only did she like knock her goals out of the water and have the best launch of this program that she's ever had, best launch of any program she's ever had, and her first 6-figure year as a result of this launch. But on top of all of that, she was actually able to have the space to start ideating and dreaming up other programs as a part of her offer suite. And what that led to was multiple VIP days that then turned into a mastermind program that she launched later in the year. That was also one of her best launches that she's ever had. And so I say this to you to say that when you take care of your energy, when you take it from this sort of like super nebulous, vague, woo-woo kind of concept and make it measurable and practical, it unlocks so much power, so much restoration, so much creativity, and so much results, so many results for you. Results that you would never have gotten under conditions where you blew past your own energy and ignored your own capacity. And you can do this using my whole systems here that I showed you. You can use this line graph for yourself. You can map your energy for yourself. You can go through the questions that I shared with you in this video and answer them. Map the blue line, map the red line, and see where the gaps are too tight or where the red line is above the blue line, and see where you need to adjust and where you need to change things in your own launch. Or you can find some other way of making your energy a measurable, tangible thing so that you don't blow past it and ignore those boundaries and end up running yourself ragged and actually cutting your legs from out underneath you because you stifle your own results, not just for this launch, but you stifle the potential of future launches, of future programs, of future opportunities to serve your audience because you just don't have the energy. You don't have the energy to ideate. You don't have the energy to create. You don't have the energy to give, to share, to launch other things when you do not take care of your energy well. So I want to let you know that you can do this, that you can make your energy a very measurable and real concept when it comes to your launches, and it will make all the difference for you. All right? If you have any questions about how I do this, if you want me to like expand on this in any way, feel free to drop them in the comments below. If you want more one-on-one private attention, if you have questions about your own, like specific questions about your launches, specific questions about your Evergreen funnel, I do have a consultation hour and I'm running a 50% off discount until May 8th. So you can grab that at the link in the comments or in the description box below as well. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.